The Empress of Secrets sought to outsmart him, but the human was playing his own game. The spires of the Lycian citadel towered above Marcus Hale, their iridescent surfaces catching the alien sun and fracturing it into kaleidoscopic patterns that flickered across his path. Each step toward the entrance was a calculated trial, the shifting lights and vertiginous lines designed to unmoor the mind of any outsider. Marcus, Earth's envoy, straightened his suit with a subtle motion, schooling his features into a calm, unreadable smile. Every inch of this city was engineered for intimidation, but he would not yield to spectacle. A Lycian attendant materialized at his side, tall and statuesque, her armorless skin subtly metallic in the fluctuating light. "The Empress will receive you now," she intoned, her words vibrating with a metallic resonance that seemed to reverberate in Marcus's bones. Her eyes, a startling shade of electric blue, lingered on him, as if measuring his reactions to the sensory onslaught. He followed her through a sequence of archways, each more elaborate than the last, until the corridor widened and dissolved into a vast chamber. Here, the walls shimmered with undulating waves of color, bending perception so that depth and distance became illusions. Shadows and light played tricks, occasionally conjuring the shapes of mythic beasts or echoing faces from dreams. At the far end, elevated on a dais carved from a single translucent crystal, sat Empress Vera. Her throne was a masterpiece of Lycian artistry, clear as water, yet alive with shifting glyphs that radiated light from within. Vera herself was arresting. Her skin seemed to glow with a gentle internal luminescence, a pearly sheen that shifted from silver to faint lavender with every movement. Her hair, a vivid cascade of crimson, fell over one armored shoulder, gleaming like spun rubies. Eyes, green as new leaves and slit like a predator's, fixed on Marcus with a patience that bordered on predatory. She wore ceremonial armor as elegant as it was lethal, lightweight, jointed plates chased with radiant symbols, the surface of the metal humming ever so slightly. The sound blended with the faint music in the chamber, making it seem as though her very presence orchestrated the room. "Envoy Hale," she greeted, her voice ringing through the chamber, melodic and commanding at once. "Earth sends a man of confidence." Marcus executed a precise bow, neither obsequious nor careless. "Empress Vera, your wisdom is known even beyond this sector." Vera's eyes narrowed in faint amusement. "And what does wisdom mean to your people, Marcus Hale?" He straightened, meeting her gaze without flinching. "The ability to see beneath the surface, to know when words conceal more than they reveal." Around them, Lycian courtiers shifted in their places, some whispering behind artful fans, others with unreadable expressions. The tension, subtle as the tremor of a string, vibrated between them. The Empress's lips curled into a slow, knowing smile. "You are not like the others. Most come eager to please." "I find candor more efficient, Your Majesty." "Candor!" She laughed, a sound like a cascade of crystal chimes. The courtiers stilled, uncertain whether to join in. "A rare trait. Sit then, and tell me honestly what Earth seeks." She gestured to a low table flanked by sinuous, translucent chairs. Marcus took his seat, careful to move with the economy and confidence she seemed to prize. Servants glided forward, bearing trays of drinks in glassware faceted like diamonds, each one refracting the shifting light. "We offer advanced biosphere engineering in exchange for access to the Halcyon mineral fields," Marcus began, accepting a glass. He let his voice project just enough, knowing every word would be dissected. Vera leaned forward, resting one slender, armored arm on her knee. The shifting symbols on her breastplate caught the light, flaring and pulsing with her heartbeat. "Earth's military uses more advanced systems than what you offer," she said, a hint of challenge in her tone. Marcus allowed himself a flicker of surprise, the smallest arch of his brow. "You're well informed, Your Majesty." "Always." She made a small, dismissive gesture. "Our intelligence is thorough." She nodded to the drink. "Please. It is Elysian stimulant, but I am told humans tolerate it well." Marcus sipped, the flavor bright and alien, but he allowed no reaction to betray him. "Impressive," he said evenly, setting the glass down with practiced care. Vera regarded him for a long moment. "You're different, Marcus Hale. The last human envoys were easily read, their ambitions painted on their faces." "Perhaps that's why I was chosen." She studied him, gaze unblinking. "Were you sent to win, or merely to endure?" The question floated between them, unanswered as an attendant stepped forward to announce the end of the audience. The Empress dismissed him with a graceful wave, her eyes lingering as he bowed and withdrew. That evening, the Citadel transformed. The reception hall shimmered beneath floating orbs of bioluminescent light, casting the Lysian elite in shifting hues. Marcus moved among them, exchanging nods and pleasantries, all the while observing the undercurrents, how every gesture bent toward the Empress, how awe and deference mingled in every glance. He accepted a glass from a passing server and let his gaze wander, noting that the courtier's laughter dimmed whenever Vera approached. She moved through her people like a comet, trailing fascination and unease in equal measure. Suddenly, she was beside him, closer than protocol demanded, her presence crackling with energy. "Humans intrigue me," she said, her tone softer, meant only for him. So brief, yet so relentless. Marcus turned, meeting her gaze. Her vertical pupils caught the light, reflecting it back in a way that made it hard to look away. "Adaptability is our strength," he replied. Vera's lips twitched. "I have broken adaptable species before," she mused, her voice a low melody. "I don't doubt it, Empress. Yet you do not seem afraid. Fear wastes energy better spent elsewhere." She laughed again, louder this time, drawing the eyes of those nearby. "This will be an interesting negotiation, Marcus Hale." As she drifted away, her light lingering in the air like the afterglow of a comet, Marcus realized that the game had begun long before he entered the Citadel. And in that flicker of crimson and silver, the true nature of the challenge ahead became clear. Morning sunlight refracted through the negotiation hall's crystalline panes, painting the obsidian table with shifting colors, blues and violets sliding over Marcus Hale's hands as he waited. The Lysians had engineered discomfort into every detail, the subtle, almost oppressive heat. The chairs with legs of uneven length that forced a perpetual, minute balancing act. The faint hum beneath the surface of the floor that seemed to vibrate in his teeth. It was a chamber designed to unsettle, to remind an outsider that even the air he breathed was not his own. Marcus folded his hands and studied the rippling shadows, cataloging each element for what it revealed of Lysian psychology, a love for control, for games played on many levels. As a child, he'd once tried to solve a puzzle box blindfolded. This felt much the same. The doors parted with a whisper, admitting Empress Vera, radiant as ever, her armor etched with unfamiliar glyphs that glowed faintly against her luminous skin. The symbols pulsed in slow rhythm, new patterns for a new day, a new message for him to decipher. "Envoy," she greeted, voice carrying the same melodious authority as before. "Did you sleep well?" "Well enough," Marcus replied, allowing a wry smile, though the dream-inducing vapors were unexpected. Her lips curved in a slow, dangerous amusement. "Elysian tradition. They reveal hidden desires. Then I apologize for disappointing your observers." He glanced, meaningfully, at the wall, where a shimmer in the air betrayed the presence of hidden lenses. A soft, almost inaudible sound came from the shadows behind Vera. Her advisor, Sierra, shifted uneasily, eyes flicking toward Marcus, as if measuring how much he knew. The message was clear. His quarters had not only been monitored, but analyzed for every sigh and restless movement. Vera's gaze lingered on him. "We value honesty," she said, her tone layered with subtle threat and invitation both. "The Lysian mind is a lattice of truths and deceptions." "Then we share at least that much," Marcus replied, his voice smooth. He let the moment settle before drawing his chair closer to the table. "Shall we begin?" Negotiations unfurled in waves, Vera leading, Marcus countering, their words fencing in the air. She pressed for details about Earth's defense networks, weaving her questions with practiced skill. He deflected, offering partial truths, dancing around sensitive information with measured poise. At one point, he presented mineral yield projections from the Halcyon fields, deliberately understating the estimates. Vera pounced, her eyes glinting. "Your figures are incorrect, by nearly half." Marcus feigned embarrassment, lowering his gaze. "A regrettable oversight. Thank you for the correction." He recalculated, allowing her to savor the apparent victory, a morsel offered, distracting from deeper secrets. She leaned forward, predatory and pleased. "You play a long game, Marcus Hale." "Only as long as necessary, Your Majesty." Hours passed in thrust and parry, the table between them a line of shifting light. Each time she pressed, he yielded a fraction, baiting her into confidence. By the end of the session, her posture had relaxed, lips curved in a satisfied arc. Sierra watched Marcus with new wariness, his earlier unease deepened by Marcus's deft maneuvers. After the Lycians withdrew, Marcus was escorted through winding corridors, his every step accompanied by guards in mirrored armor. In the human wing, an island of familiar architecture, he found Dr. Liu waiting, her dark hair pulled back, her eyes sharp behind wire-thin glasses. "They're pressing for military specs," Marcus reported, voice low. He scanned the room for bugs, but Liu had already activated a jammer. "Good," Liu replied. "That keeps them from questioning our real motives." He let out a breath. "They're more sophisticated than we anticipated. Vera in particular. She doesn't bluff." "Neither do you," Liu said, a hint of a smile. "Just keep them looking in the wrong direction." As he left, Marcus allowed himself a brief moment of uncertainty. He was holding the Lycian's attention, but the margin for error was vanishingly thin. Later, with the formalities behind him, Marcus wandered the palace gardens. Paths of translucent stone wound between groves of silvery trees, their leaves whispering in the alien breeze. He moved slowly, mapping security positions in the shadows, counting sentries, noting the rhythm of patrols. Everything had a pattern, except for Vera. She appeared beside him as if conjured from the light, her armor replaced by a flowing robe that shimmered like liquid mercury. The insignia at her throat still glowed, alive with radiant energy. "Earth's flora is so unremarkable," she observed, glancing at a cluster of blue blossoms that pulsed with internal light. "We find beauty in what endures," Marcus said, kneeling to brush his fingers over a patch of moss. "What survives is often more remarkable than what dazzles." "Is that why you pursue diplomacy?" she asked, turning toward him. The sun caught the edge of her robe, scattering color across her cheekbones. "Not for simplicity, but for complexity," he replied, straightening. "Survival is not always about force. Sometimes it's about knowing which challenges are worth facing and which are best avoided." She looked at him with a new sort of curiosity, her eyes narrowing, not in suspicion, but in genuine thought. "And have you unraveled my patterns, Marcus Hale?" He smiled, letting the silence stretch. "I'm still searching. The view is compelling." Vera knelt by the edge of a nearby pond, beckoning with graceful fingers. From beneath the glassy surface, a silver aquatic creature rose, its scales catching the sunlight in flickers. It circled her hand, twin fins fluttering. "These are Selkith," she said, stroking its back. "They mate for life. If one dies, the other soon follows, sometimes within hours." "Romantic," Marcus observed, "but evolutionarily risky. Dependency like that can end a species." She traced slow circles on the Selkith's head. "True strength to us is total commitment, even when it's a weakness." She lifted her gaze to him. "Your history is full of impossible acts born of devotion, sacrifices, defiance against all odds." He crouched beside her, watching the Selkith spiral through the pond. "You've studied us well. Know your counterpart," she said, her voice softer than before. The garden seemed to hush, as if listening. "Am I your adversary?" Marcus asked, almost whispering. Vera stood, stepping close, so near he could see the faint shimmer of energy beneath her skin. "What would you prefer to be?" Her question was a challenge and an invitation, the air between them charged with something dangerous and electric. Marcus hesitated, feeling the boundaries between roles blur. Something less predictable. She let the silence thicken, her gaze holding his. "Careful, Marcus Hale," she said, her voice a velvet warning. "The unpredictable rarely survive Lycia." Their words carried more than diplomatic meaning now, each exchange a test and an offering. As dusk fell, the gardens filled with the soft glow of bioluminescent lanterns. Marcus watched Vera's silhouette drift away among the silvered branches, her presence lingering like the aftertaste of a foreign spice. He felt the tension in his chest, not just the strain of negotiation, but something sharper, more personal, threading its way through every calculated move. He was meant to outmaneuver the Empress, to bend her will to Earth's designs. But her luminous presence, the subtle power in her every word, left him unexpectedly off balance. The game, it seemed, was changing, and he was no longer certain who held the upper hand. At dawn, Marcus slipped through the Citadel's labyrinthine maintenance corridors, the only light the pale, trembling glow of emergency strips that traced the walls like veins. Every step was calculated, his senses tuned to every creak of alloy beneath his boots, every shift in the recycled air. Lycian Empire projected an image of untouchable strength, gleaming towers, impossibly advanced technology, soldiers drilled into perfect formation. But Marcus had learned to look beyond facades. In shadowed passageways, he noted the telltale signs of strain: scuffed plating, junction boxes patched with temporary seals, the faint scent of overheated circuits. These were not the marks of a civilization at its peak. He moved quickly, bypassing security nodes with practiced efficiency. The Citadel's data core was sealed behind a heavy door, imposing but not impenetrable. Marcus accessed a maintenance hatch, slipping inside. There, humming banks of crystalline processors lined the chamber, pulsing with the Empire's secrets. He scanned system logs and resource allocations, fingers flying over a compact transcriber. What he found confirmed his suspicions. Supply lines stretched thin, logistics requests marked urgent but unfulfilled, defense units reassigned from core worlds to outlying sectors. Civilian resources were quietly funneled into military operations. The Lycian Empire was not as invincible as it appeared. It was a giant shoring up crumbling foundations, masking fragility with spectacle. As he slipped back into the main corridors, his comm vibrated with a coded pulse. Dr. Liu's voice, filtered through secure encryption, reached him. "Envoy Hale, the Empress's intelligence chief has requested your file." Marcus considered this with a half smile. Send the sanitized version. The file they had prepared painted him as brilliant but arrogant, a maverick whose confidence bordered on recklessness, a tempting target for a ruler who relished the challenge of breaking those who refused to bend. A carefully laid snare, baited for Vera's pride. Later that morning, the negotiation chamber was colder, the air sharp with anticipation. Vera entered flanked by her advisors, her armor several shades darker than before. Obsidian plates chased with lines of molten gold, insignia blazing at her throat and wrists. She radiated command. "You look refreshed, envoy," she remarked, her tone smooth and unreadable. Marcus met her gaze, unflinching. "No troubling dreams, only pleasant ones. Thank you." Syrah, her chief advisor, slid a data slate across the obsidian table, its surface alive with cascading glyphs. Marcus picked it up, scrolling through the dense legalese of the new trade proposal. He felt the trap almost immediately, buried deep in a footnote, a clause that would grant Lycia access to Earth's latest propulsion technology, masked as a minor technical exchange. He set the slate down. "Interesting. You'd gain access to our propulsion tech through this clause here." He tapped the relevant section, voice calm but cutting. Vera's eyes gleamed, lips curving with genuine pleasure. "Few catch that, Marcus Hale. Shall we be honest with one another? You want more than minerals." He inclined his head, acknowledging her directness. "Transparency serves both our interests." She glanced at her advisors. "Leave us." Syrah hesitated, then obeyed, the others following with silent, measured steps. The doors sealed behind them. "You're not here just for mining rights," Vera said, her posture relaxing now that the audience had narrowed to two. "You seek to understand if Lycia is a threat to Earth." "Earth needs the minerals," Marcus replied, "and to know if our future is safe from Imperial expansion." Vera studied him, her expression unreadable. "Join me for dinner tonight," she said, her tone making it clear this was not an invitation, but a command. "As you wish," Marcus replied, masking any flicker of surprise. He understood the significance. Diplomatic dinners on Lycia were not about food, but power. That evening, Marcus was escorted through winding towers by a pair of silent guards, their mirrored visors reflecting only fragments of his form. The ascent was dizzying, the city unfurling below in webs of light and shadow. At the summit, in a private chamber open to the wind and stars, Vera awaited. Her armor was gone, replaced by a simple tunic the color of dusk, her hair unbound and luminous in the last rays of daylight. She greeted him with a nod. "Wine?" she offered, pouring 2 glasses from a carafe etched with swirling glyphs. He accepted, stepping to the edge of the balcony. The view was staggering. The city a living organism of light, arteries of traffic and pulsing domes, the horizon ablaze with alien constellations. "Beautiful view," Marcus said, swirling the wine and taking in the panorama. "A reminder of my duty," Vera replied, her gaze distant for a moment. "Every night I look out and remember what is at stake. This city stands because I will it to stand." He turned to her, leaning against the crystalline rail. "You rule through awe and secrecy." She arched an eyebrow, lips curling at the edge. Bold words for a guest. "Would you prefer polite lies?" he asked, voice gentle but charged. "No." Her answer was immediate, almost fierce. She stepped closer, setting her glass aside. "Polite lies are the currency of courtiers, not rulers." She regarded him, her eyes searching. "Your record shows you failed with the Deltans." He smiled, the memory sharp. "Some cultures prefer directness, others require patience. And me?" Her tone softened, curiosity threading through her command. He met her gaze without hesitation. "You thrive on challenge. You collect adversaries, then test their mettle until they break or become something more." A slow smile spread across her lips. "I do." For a moment, the air between them pulsed with mutual recognition. Dinner was served, a medley of Lycian delicacies, each bite a play of unfamiliar flavors and colors, but the meal itself was secondary. Their conversation shed the layered posturing of the council chamber. Vera asked about his childhood, his first diplomatic posting, the mistakes he had learned to cherish. Marcus reciprocated, probing gently into her ascent to power, the burdens of command, the loneliness of the throne. As the meal ended, he sensed the walls between them thinning. Vera's laughter rang truer, her silences deeper, each look lingering a heartbeat longer than diplomacy required. When he stood to leave, she stepped close. So close he could see the glow under her skin intensify, casting her in an unearthly light. The night air was electric. "I enjoy your company, Marcus Hale. Perhaps more than is wise," she murmured, the words intimate, vulnerable. He held her gaze, feeling the gravity between them. "Wisdom is overrated," he replied, his voice low. The air between them seemed to spark, charged with all the words left unsaid. She reached out, fingertips brushing his wrist, a touch that was both promise and warning. "Sira thinks you're dangerous. And you?" Vera's eyes gleamed, pupils narrowing to slits. Danger and attraction are often twins. Their breaths mingled for a moment longer, suspended on the brink of something neither could quite name. Then she stepped back, the moment dissolving, and he turned to go, pulse racing. Back in his quarters, Marcus sat in the dark, wineglass untouched on the table. He replayed every exchange, every glance, every unspoken challenge. He wondered if he was truly in control, or if they were both caught in a game neither could fully master. The lines between danger and desire, victory and vulnerability, blurred in the midnight hush of the citadel, leaving only the question of what tomorrow would bring. Vera sat behind a desk of translucent crystal, shards of morning light scattering across the interface as she reviewed Marcus's dossier for the third time. Sira hovered at her shoulder, silent until Vera gestured for his insight. "He lowers his guard after confrontation," Sira observed, tapping a section of Marcus's psychological profile. "It's when he's most likely to reveal what matters." Vera's lips pressed into a line. She did not comment on how many hours she had spent analyzing this particular human, how she caught herself thinking about his laughter, the way he wielded candor like a weapon, how the rhythm of their conversations lingered long after he left the room. It was uncharacteristic for her, Empress of Lycia, to give such attention to an envoy. Neither she nor Sira spoke of it, though both knew. Meanwhile, Marcus prepared for the day's theater. He spread a stack of documents across his quarter's polished stone desk, composing reports for Lycian surveillance with meticulous care. Each page was a tapestry of truth and plausible misdirection. Projected supply needs, exaggerated mineral shortfalls, unremarkable communication codes. The real intelligence, a memory wafer encoded with his analysis of Lysian vulnerabilities, he slid into the inner lining of his jacket. He glanced at the small window, noting the time, then strode into the Citadel's public corridors, every movement watched by Lysian eyes hidden behind mirrored visors. He carried himself with the air of a man chafing under pressure. Exactly the impression he wanted to give. In the negotiation hall, Vera was already waiting, her posture a study in regal command. Today, her armor was burnished to a mirror finish, insignia burning with inner fire. She radiated resolve. She wasted no time. "Envoy Hale, shall we see if today brings progress?" Marcus nodded, sliding the stack of documents across the table. "Earth is prepared to consider further concessions, provided your side is equally forthcoming." Vera pressed harder than before, challenging his numbers, dissecting his arguments. Sira presented a new proposal, lines of text scrolling across the screen, buried within, a clause that would bind Earth's research consortiums to Lycian oversight. Marcus let himself look flustered, thumb tapping in irritation. "Your terms leave Earth at a loss," he said, voice strained. Vera leaned in, her gaze unwavering. "Or simply prevent you from gaining too much." He swallowed frustration, masking satisfaction as she pressed her advantage. He allowed small defeats, appearing to yield ground. Sierra watched with a mixture of suspicion and satisfaction, seeing only what Marcus intended. When the session ended, Marcus retreated to the observatory, a circular room of glass and steel that jutted above the citadel's highest tier. He expected her. The pattern of their encounters had become a silent accord. Vera entered, the door whispering shut behind her. She studied him for a long moment, her silhouette limned in twilight. "You seem troubled, envoy," she said. He let out a low sigh, feigning weariness. "Stalemates do that." She circled, voice softening. "Humans often turn honest when cornered. Is this such a moment?" Marcus met her eyes, measuring how much to reveal. "What would you have me confess?" She stopped beside him, close enough that he felt the heat of her presence. "Your true interest in Halcyon." He hesitated, just enough to sell the conflict. "Earth needs the minerals for more than fuel. Long-range comms across dead zones." "Military channels?" she clarified, her tone edged with irony. "Among other uses," he admitted, the truth hanging between them like the city's distant lights. Vera paced around him, her expression unreadable. "Did you think we wouldn't uncover your secondary motives?" "I thought this would come later," he replied, offering a rueful smile. "You're thorough." "The Empress of Lycia must be," she said, her voice almost wistful. He shifted, turning to face her. "Where does that leave us?" "That depends on what else you're hiding," she said, eyes narrowing in challenge. Marcus weighed his next move, then offered a partial truth, a detail from his encrypted report, carefully chosen. "Some of your patrol ships are running on skeleton crews. Resource allocation is straining your supply lines." She blinked, surprise breaking through her composure for a heartbeat. Then she regained her mask. "An interesting claim." "Not a claim. An observation," he replied, stepping closer. "You mentioned your ancestors led the Exodus, but your version of the story doesn't match Lycian records." This time Vera was genuinely taken aback. "Most wouldn't notice," she murmured, searching his face. "I'm not most," Marcus said, letting the silence speak for him. "No," she agreed, voice barely above a whisper. Her gaze lingered, charged with something more than rivalry. For a moment, the boundary between adversaries and something deeper wavered. She drew back, restoring a measure of distance. "Tomorrow I'll make a concession. Something meaningful." He inclined his head. "I look forward to it." Their eyes locked, an unspoken promise passing between them. Then she slipped from the room, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Marcus pressed a hand to his chest, feeling his pulse race. The mission was on track, but the balance was shifting in ways he hadn't foreseen. That night, the Citadel's hush was shattered by wailing alarms. Red light strobed through the corridors, followed by the thunder of distant explosions. Marcus snapped awake, instinct already guiding his hands to the hidden blade in his boot and the compact pistol in his desk. He burst into the hallway, smoke curling along the ceiling. He rounded a corner and nearly collided with two attackers clad in black armor, faces obscured by opaque visors. Not Lycian design. They moved with lethal intent, weapons raised. Marcus didn't hesitate. He closed the distance, striking one in the throat and disarming the other with a twist. He used the first as a shield, dispatching the second with cold efficiency no diplomat should possess. The alarms rose to a fever pitch. He sprinted toward the command center, every sense sharpened by adrenaline. Another squad of black-armored figures blocked his path. He ducked beneath a plasma bolt, rolled behind a column, and dispatched them with precise, practiced violence. Reaching the command center, he found chaos. Shattered displays, Lysian guards holding defensive lines, Syrah issuing clipped orders. At the room's heart stood Vera, encased in radiant battle armor, insignia blazing like a beacon. Her presence cut through the confusion, radiating command. Targeted strike on your core systems, Marcus assessed, taking in the tactical map with a single glance. How would you know? The security chief barked, leveling a weapon at him. Marcus's voice was cold and clear. The same way I took down 3 of your attackers in the West Corridor. Vera's attention snapped to him, recognition and something more flickering across her face. With skills you never listed on your diplomatic file. Marcus shrugged. A man adapts. The battle raged. Lysian defenders pressed hard. Marcus and Vera found themselves fighting back to back, her blade flashing, his movements surgical. A plasma bolt grazed Vera's side, violet blood seeping from a gash in her armor. She staggered but kept fighting. You fight well for a deceiver, she said, breathless. Says the Empress of Secrets, he shot back, dispatching another assailant. Their enemies retreated, leaving silence in their wake. Vera pressed a hand to her wound, studying Marcus with new respect, and something deeper. Your empire is vulnerable, he said quietly. These were insiders. She rounded on him, eyes blazing. Why help me? Why not let chaos weaken Lycia for Earth's gain? He stepped close, voice steady. Because chaos here serves no one, not even Earth. We both need order to survive what's coming. For a moment, the tension between them snapped. Vera seized his collar, pulling him close, her lips crashing against his in a kiss that was fierce, electric, and utterly without pretense. Marcus broke away, breathless, voice unsteady. That's not diplomacy. Vera's eyes glowed, her smile dangerous. Neither are we, she replied. In the charged silence, the rules of their game rewrote themselves. 6 hours after the attack, the Citadel stood in lockdown, every entrance sealed, every corridor crawling with Lysian security in iridescent armor. The air was charged with tension, fear and fury echoing through the crystalline halls. Marcus watched from a shadowed alcove as squads swept past, scanning every face, every ID chip. The traitor had a name now, Syrah. Vera's once trusted advisor had vanished into the labyrinth, hunted by his former peers. Marcus's calm vibrated against his palm. He ducked into an empty chamber, the stained glass walls casting fractured light across his face as he keyed in the encrypted channel. General Carter's voice crackled through, sharp as ever. Status hail. Situation unstable, Marcus reported, keeping his tone controlled. The Empress's position is weaker than we thought. Syrah's betrayal has exposed fractures. The court is at each other's throats. A long pause. Is your judgment compromised, Hale? Marcus's jaw tightened. No, sir. I'm still on mission. Elsewhere in the Citadel, Vera replayed security footage with icy precision. The scenes flashed by. Marcus dispatching attackers, protecting her flank, the moment their hands had met, and something changed. She paused, searching not only his actions but her own, analyzing the way she had looked at him, the way she'd allowed herself to trust. Drav, the security chief, entered, boots ringing on the obsidian floor. We have confirmation. Syrah accessed restricted data, tried to implicate Earth. He's still in the Citadel. Increase surveillance, Vera ordered, her voice cold as crystal. No one leaves, and find out what else he touched. By the next morning, Lysia's wounds remained open, but negotiations resumed, their necessity now sharper than ever. In the council hall, Marcus found Vera armored, her insignia glowing more fiercely, every gesture commanding. Yet beneath her poise he sensed exhaustion, the sleepless nights, the relentless doubts. Perhaps we should discuss mutual security, Marcus suggested, breaking the stalemate of old demands. Vera's eyes narrowed, then softened. A novel idea, she replied, her insignia flaring as if in answer to the unspoken tension. She stood. Walk with me. Privately, they wound through the palace gardens, the morning sun glinting on bioluminescent leaves. The air was thick with the perfume of Lycian flora, but suspicion lingered. Your court is suspicious, Marcus observed, watching two guards shadow their path. So is your ambassador, Vera countered. He nodded, accepting the truth. What is our approach now? Honesty, where possible, Vera said. For a moment her mask slipped, vulnerability flashing in her gaze. They moved deeper among silver-trunked trees, speaking more openly than ever before. Vera, Empress of Secrets, finally admitting the toll of being feared. Marcus, the operative who had worn too many masks, letting himself be seen. The words came quietly at first, then with growing conviction. Someone who's begun to question everything, Marcus admitted. Every motive, every order. I never thought I'd envy my enemies their certainty. And you? He asked, searching her face. Vera hesitated, her composure wavering. Someone who longs to be understood. Even an empress wants to be seen for who she is, not just what she represents. On impulse, she reached for his hand, her fingers warm, her grip steady. The contact sent a jolt through Marcus, and he squeezed her hand gently. Days before, such a gesture would have been unthinkable. The next day, tension returned with a vengeance. Marcus's comm buzzed urgently. He answered to see General Carter's face, hard and cold, flickering on the screen. The general stood inside the Citadel's human wing, unannounced. You're compromised, Carter accused, eyes narrow. He pressed a control and surveillance footage played. Marcus and Vera in the gardens, their hands entwined. I'm responding to new intelligence, Marcus insisted. Lycia's instability is a threat to both worlds. This is more than minerals now. Spare me, Carter snapped. You're relieved. Siraj's coup was orchestrated with our help. The treaty you negotiated gives us access to their tech. We need superiority now. Maintain appearances for 48 hours, then return to Earth. That's an order. Marcus's chest went cold. He said nothing as Carter cut the connection. Meanwhile, Vera stood in her command chamber, absorbing the latest intelligence. Drav approached, bowing. Our network intercepted an Earth transmission. They're extracting Hale in 2 days. Vera's composure cracked. Summon him, now. Marcus was escorted under guard to the throne room. Vera stood waiting, eyes blazing. Was it all a lie, Marcus Hale? Her voice trembled on the edge of anger and something deeper. He forced himself to meet her gaze. Not all, he said quietly. Carter arrived today. I've been relieved. The plan was never mine to change. She studied him, pain flickering across her features. Detain him, she ordered, turning away. In his cell, Marcus paced restlessly. The walls seemed to close in. 1 day left, and everything unraveling. Hours later, the door slid open. Drav entered, silent, and gestured for Marcus to follow. He was brought before Vera once more. This time she looked different. Tense, uncertain, but resolved. I verified your claims, she said. Carter is acting without oversight. We have little time. What would you do, Marcus? He stepped forward, urgency in his voice. Let me stop Carter's team before they start a war. Siraj's coup was a distraction. Earth is making its move now. Vera's eyes narrowed. Why betray your own? Because I'm preventing disaster for both our worlds. I made promises to you. He searched her expression, hoping she saw the truth there. She hesitated, then pressed a button, releasing his restraints. "If this is another deception, it will be your last." He nodded, understanding the gravity of her trust. They moved swiftly through the Citadel's maze of corridors, tracking Carter's operatives via security feeds. Marcus recognized the tactics. His former colleagues. They were trained for subterfuge, already deep inside the infrastructure. In a shadowed intersection, Marcus broke away from Vera's side, intercepting two figures attempting to breach the data core. He disarmed one with a precise blow and pinned the other, his movements too fluid for a mere diplomat. A third operative tried to escape. Vera cut her off, her presence as commanding in a simple uniform as in battle armor. Together, they neutralized the threat. No quarter given, no hesitation. Breathing hard, Vera turned to him. "Now what?" Marcus drew a deep breath. "Now we force Carter to accept a new reality. Together." They retreated to the command chamber and initiated a secure link. Carter's image appeared, his impatience obvious. "General, your team has failed," Marcus said. "Any further escalation will be exposed to the Lycian and Earth assemblies. Instead, you'll accept a genuine technology exchange, one that benefits both worlds." Vera stood at his side, her insignia blazing. "Your actions nearly destroyed both our futures. That ends now." For a long, tense moment, Carter weighed his options. Then, grudgingly, he relented. "You've made your point, Hale. You're on your own. Don't expect a rescue." The channel closed. Silence descended. Vera turned, searching Marcus's face. "You sacrificed your career to prevent conflict." He reached for her hand, a gesture no longer forbidden. "I chose a better path. For both our worlds. And for us." Their fingers intertwined, the future uncertain. But for the first time, hope glimmered between them. 3 weeks after the failed extraction, the Lycian Citadel's Grand Hall was reborn, transformed from the stronghold of secrets and suspicion into a stage for unity. Ornate banners of Lycian crystal and Earth's deep blue silk hung side by side. The great obsidian floor shone, reflecting a tapestry of color from the radiant glyphs that shimmered across the high, arched ceiling. Delegates from a dozen worlds clustered in the balconies, their attire a kaleidoscope of cultures, all watching history unfold. At the center, the Halcyon Accords waited, 2 tablets of memory crystal, sealed with both Lycian and Terran sigils. Cameras hovered in silent orbits, transmitting every moment to the farthest colonies. Marcus Hale, once a pawn in a deeper game, now stood at the front of Earth's delegation. His formal attire was crisp, but his expression was measured, every line on his face echoing the gravity of this day. At the dais, Empress Vera presided, her court finally purged of conspirators, her bearing regal yet unburdened. The iridescent armor she wore was ceremonial, the insignia at her collar glowing steadily, a beacon of authority and resilience. Their public manner was formal, voices calm, gestures precise. Yet when Marcus met Vera's gaze across the table, 1,000 unspoken truths passed between them. Shared danger, secret longing, hard-won trust. He handed her the stylus with a slight, deliberate bow. She accepted, her fingers brushing his just a second longer than necessary. The ceremony proceeded with the ritual cadence of diplomacy. Recitations of peace, oaths of cooperation, signatures inscribed in mirrored script. When it ended, applause echoed through the citadel. Delegates from every world rose, diplomats exchanged measured nods, and reporters sent triumphant headlines through the stars. Yet beneath the surface, uncertainty lingered. Would the accords hold? Could old wounds truly heal? Those were questions for another day. Later, as the crowd dispersed to feasts and interviews, Marcus received a discreet message. No code, just a location and a time. He made his way through the now familiar corridors, past guards who saluted with a hint of grudging respect, and entered the observatory. The glass dome was dark, lit only by the glow of distant stars. Vera stood alone, silhouetted against the galactic sea, her profile etched in silver by the city's reflected light. He paused, letting the hush settle around them. "Quite a spectacle today," he said quietly. She did not turn, but he heard the smile in her voice. "The Empress of Secrets embracing openness. You realize my ancestors would be horrified." "Evolution, not revolution," Marcus replied, approaching to stand beside her. "You let the world see you. That changes everything." "My court still doubts, as does yours," Vera admitted, her eyes fixed on the constellations. "Some believe I am naive. Others suspect a deeper plot." "Ambassador Liu thinks I'm compromised," Marcus said, lips twisting in a wry smile. Vera looked at him, her pupils narrowing. "Are you?" she teased, a playful challenge beneath her formality. He shrugged, honesty softening his edges. "Influenced, perhaps, not compromised." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Your position is secure for now. Mine is less fragile than it was. But your future," she hesitated, voice gentle, "is less certain." "Carter would prefer I never return to Earth," Marcus admitted. "But he no longer decides for me." He stepped closer, the world outside shrinking until only they remained. "Any regrets?" Vera's gaze searched his, the weight of her crown momentarily set aside. "None. The Citadel will be different with a human resident. My people will talk." "They already do," Marcus replied, the corners of his mouth lifting. "Stories are spreading through the halls, the Empress who captured an Earth agent." She allowed herself a quiet laugh. "Is that what you are? My captive? My ally?" His voice dropped, intent and certain. "I think we both know it's more than that." Vera's armor caught the starlight, glyphs pulsing in slow, contented waves. "My ancestors forged alliances through union as often as conquest. I never considered it for myself. Duty, yes, but never choice." He moved even closer, his presence steady. "And now?" She looked down at their hands, her glowing fingers reaching for his. "Now I see new possibilities, for my people, and for myself." Their hands met, her touch both delicate and electric. "A union, symbolic, and real," she murmured, her voice trembling with hope. Marcus's thumb brushed her knuckles. "Is this an alliance, Your Majesty?" Vera's lips curved, her smile both mischievous and genuine. "It's the continuation of what we've begun, defying convention." "It won't be easy," Marcus said softly. She drew him closer, their faces only a breath apart. "The best truths are those hidden in plain sight," she replied. "A political alliance masking something deeper." He laughed, the tension dissolving. "We've always been good at masks." She stepped into his embrace, her armor cool against his chest, her arms around him. No longer an empress and an envoy, but two souls choosing each other in defiance of history. Their kiss was unhurried now, a promise freely given and accepted. Above them, stars burned silent witness. Days later, Marcus stood beside Vera on the Citadel balcony, the city alive below, Lysians and humans mingling in the streets, laughter and music rising into the evening air. He watched a group of children chasing light drones, their shouts echoing, and felt a pang of hope he had not known he still possessed. "From adversaries to architects of a new future," Vera observed, her voice soft but proud. She wore less armor now, her strength no longer needing its old shields. Marcus smiled, his hand finding hers where the crowd could not see. "We built this together, out of deception that became something real." She looked at him, her eyes luminous. What comes next? He squeezed her fingers gently, his answer certain. We keep playing the game, together. Vera's insignia glowed with a joy that needed no translation. I always preferred winning. As twilight fell across the citadel, the Empress and the human who had come to deceive her stood side by side, no longer rivals, but partners. The future was unwritten, but for the first time they would face it by choice, not by fate. And as the city celebrated beneath them, their alliance, born of intrigue, risk, and a spark that neither could deny, promised not only peace, but a new beginning for two worlds, and for themselves. That's the end of the story. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.